Okay, so today we're going to talk about how money works. So there's a lot of misconception around money, a lot, because I was in a meeting just yesterday where we were talking about what's the cost of capital. It's a very important topic because most people don't think about this. So what is your cost of capital? And this has a lot to do with if you're lending it, if you're borrowing it, if you're saving it, all that has a lot to do with if you're going to make money or not over the long haul. And so there's really just two pieces, and a lot of people use this and they get this confused, but there's really only two pieces. There's debt, which is a mortgage, and then there's equity. But if you really think about it, it's just capital. It's just money. It's just in different forms. And so what I'm going to talk to you about first is how this whole system works so that you can understand it. It doesn't really matter if it's in the form of debt or if it's the form of equity. What you need to understand is how much it costs. So what is the cost of that capital? So here's how the system works. So all these people, they're employees, let's say, could be like yourself or whatever, but they make money typically from their job. Okay, and so what do? They end up going to the bank, right? So this money goes to a bank. A lot of people do this unconsciously. Okay, so what happens here now? What you've done is you've taken your money and you've given it to somebody else to hold. Okay, so that's a very important piece of what we're going to talk about later. Because now all of a sudden, this bank has a problem because it has lots of money. That's the issue. Okay, now, this doesn't necessarily have to be a bank either. It could be an insurance company. It could be a pension. It can be a 401k. It can be all of those things that your employer might have you invest in or you might invest in. The point is somebody's holding your money that you're making from your paycheck. That's the entire point. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, but this is what we like to call OPM, other people's money. Okay? So, why I bring this up is because this might be you, but this might be everyone else. And what you're trying to do is we're trying to borrow from the bank, from the pension, from the insurance company. You can even borrow from your 401k plan. You can invest with savings that you generate. So a lot of people don't understand this. And so it's really important to understand where all this leads. Because OPM, or other people's money, is your money. It's everyone's money. And the bank has a problem because they have it. And so what the bank does is they give you, let's say, 1% in the bank, right? So let's say you have $10,000 in the bank. The bank's going to pay you 1% in your savings. And so when you get your bank account statements, you'll see it's 1%. The interesting thing about this is the bank now has your money. It's actually a liability for them, if you think about it. It's an expense. So if they have your money, it's an expense. So now the bank has to lend it, and this is where it starts getting fun, because the bank now lends it in the form of OPM, other people's money, at rates of, let's say, 4%, 6%, 8%, whatever. And so the difference between what they give you and what they lend is how the bank makes money. So this is how the entire system works. And so when you are trying to understand about what I would consider to be the cost of capital, or how money works in the form of debt or equity, all you have to know is that it doesn't have to be your money. It just has to be someone else's. And so as we continue to teach this stuff, you'll see that this money is sitting everywhere. There's lots of people investing into insurance policies and pension funds and things like that, and there's lots of money in the bank. And the bank money becomes a liability for the bank. And so your job is to actually go to banks or insurance companies or pension funds and to get that money and to use it to invest. That's the entire reason the system is in place. It's there for you. And it can be in the form of both debt or equity. It doesn't matter what form it's in. All it matters is what it costs. So if you're borrowing from a bank at 4%, that's obviously better than borrowing from the bank at 6%. And it can be in the form of debt or equity. So this is entirely how money works.